And so that was the beginning of my, I guess you could say, religious life. I found Orthodoxy because in a period toward my early 30s, I felt as if there was something lacking. Well, a friend of mine named Marlon, he had been saying that he had been looking into Orthodoxy. He had kind of been reading up on it, but it was not enough to fully persuade him. And so I said, oh, okay, interesting. I didn't pay it any mind, just something in the conversation, and we went on about our way. So, some time later, there was a little disagreement amongst us, which was my fault. And so we split for a few months and we didn't speak, almost about a year. So I was cutting his hair. So he went to another barber. And eventually, as it would be, I was going to say as luck would have it, but I don't like the word luck. But as things would happen, we would come right back around and meet again at another barbershop. So I got ready to tell him, hey man, look, I'm sorry, it's my fault. Don't worry about it, forget about it, just forget about it, let's just move on. Cool. He said, by the way, come outside, I want you to hear something. Okay. So we go outside and he puts this CD in and it's a choir. And I'm sitting here like, man, that's nice. And so I hear this thing, at the time it was a thing to me, called the Creed. What is that? So I'm listening to them like, okay. And I'm like, there's no organ? No. There's no piano? No. There's no any type of other instrument. No, this is all a cappella. This is just human voice. All right. Now, unbeknownst to him, I always had a small liking to what I didn't know at the time was called chanting from the Catholics. I liked how it sounded. I wasn't a big fan of it, but I was like, that sounds okay. So this sounded almost a lot like it. I'm like, man, this is nice, like almost like a chorus. Like, okay. So then he proceeded to tell me this is Eastern Orthodoxy. I'm like, okay. Have you ever heard of it? I said, no. He said, well, I've been looking into it for a while. He said, because I wanted, and this is his exact words, I wanted the structure of the Catholic Church with the freedom of the Protestant Church. I said, what? Tell her something like that. Okay. So from that day on, we kind of, text back and forth, and we would meet at the barbershop, and he would tell me about certain things and give me a book, or text me some quotes by a saint this or a saint that, unbeknownst to me, because in the Protestant world, we don't really have a lot of saints, we have churches named after St. James, St. Andrew, but we never really have we don't have it. We just didn't have it. Okay. So, he was looking to meet someone that was Eastern Orthodox, not just something you can find in a library, because back then, Google was there, but YouTube wasn't like it is now. So what happened was he met this guy at a bookstore. We're up in Jersey, and it's Deptford, New Jersey. Go to a bookstore, and he's in the religious section, and he finds this book. So he finds a book, and he's looking at it, and there's a guy next to him who's happened to be reading a book similar. So he asks him, my friend Marlon, he says to him, are you interested in, Orthodoxy? And this guy, when he would speak, he would always clear his throat. Very, very precise. He would say, yes. He said, okay. So then he says, so I've been looking for somebody who's Orthodox. Can you tell me? He was like, yes. Okay. He said, well, what should I be looking for? So come to find out, He was Orthodox. He was preparing to be a monk at a ski in Colorado under, I don't know if I don't think he's an archbishop, archmantry, or something, but Gregory. He has a YouTube channel. He's like Orthodox connoisseur. So they start conversing, and he gives him a boatload of information. Look this up, look that up, da 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 da. Now my friend Marlon is very, very intelligent. He takes in information very easily. So he tells me, hey, listen, yo, I found somebody. Da 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 da. We're going back and forth. It sounds like a whole nother language what he's talking about. I have no idea what he's saying. I'm like, okay, all right. So I'm like, I don't know what to do with it, actually. I'm just like, okay. So, I'm at a crossroads because the church where I was going just seemed to have gotten too commercial. The other church I was going to, which was my stepdad was he was an assistant pastor. The main pastor had passed away. Very good, Reverend Bell, very, very nice. He had passed away from cancer. And so the church kind of went into like a tailwind, just falling apart. So I left. So me, my friend Marlon, and a guy that I was working with named Kevin, we all got together and decided we're going to do the old school thing and we're going to have church at the house. So we would meet at his house and we would do like a little Bible study. We'd read the scriptures and we would read some commentary, and we did the whole going back into the whole house church thing, which we thought we were doing, which is right. Well, that kind of ended up going this way, that way, and that way because we all had egos. So that didn't work out. Okay, so now it's like, now what do we do? So me and him, we started meeting up at the local supermarket where they had a food court on Sunday mornings around 11 o'clock, and we would just read. And we were reading this thing about eschatology, post-millennial, amillennial, that sort of thing. That's what we were heavy into at that time. So in between that time and the time when he brought me the invite, hey, I found a church, it's kind of a blur. I don't know what happened in between that time. It was just weird. So one day he comes to me and he says, because he worked at a hospital, he said, I met this woman that I work with. I was telling her that I was looking into being Orthodox, and she tells me that her daughter goes to an Orthodox church. Okay. Well, he said, do you want to go? Yeah, we can go check it out. Now, or I should say, yes, so I didn't know when we were going to go, how, what, where, I didn't know. He just asked me, did I want to go? I said, yeah. So I'm still looking for a church to go to. So I called my friend named Lewis, and I said, Lewis, what time does your church start? Now, his church is very, very small. It's him, his wife, his kids, his father-in-law who's a pastor, his mother-in-law, of course, and maybe a few other people. Very small. He said, we start at 9 o'clock. All right, I'm going to come. He said, you ain't coming. I said, no, I'm coming. I'm coming. He said, you ain't coming. Because he knows I'm pretty, a lot of times he's like, nah, you call people heathens and heretics and all that too much. You ain't coming. I'm like, no, I'm coming. Okay, hang up the phone. Within an hour, my friend Marlon calls. He said, hey, look, service starts tomorrow at 9:30. Do you want to go? Now, we've been on this journey for the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years. So I can't tell him no, and we've been hashing this thing out. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have to call Lewis and tell him, sorry, I can't go. So I called Lewis. I said, hey, Lewis. He said, I know. I said, no, listen. I did tell my friend that I was gonna go with him. I just didn't know when or where. So I said, he says, okay, no problem. So next day, I get up in the morning, get in the car, and we head to Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey, to go to Holy Trinity. So here I got my Bible, you know, dressed how whatever, and I'm told you won't need those. What do you mean? What church you go to you don't need a Bible? Every church you go to you need a Bible. You won't be needing those. All right, fine. We walk in, what I know now is the narthex, and I see this humongous icon of Christ. And to the other side is the icon of the Holy Trinity, and the other is the icon of the Theotokos. Now at this time I have no idea what any of this is. I don't know what a Theotokos is, I don't know about the Mount Sinai icon, I don't know Pantocrator, I don't know any of this. And I'm like, whoa, candles? All these candles lit? Like, what's happening here? Okay. We walk in the nave, and it's a pretty good sized church. The ceiling, which is a dome of course, is up there. And all around it are the 12 apostles. At the very center is the Pantocrator, just like right there, but it's humongous. And I'm saying, like, whoa. The altar, the iconostas, the icons, the lampstands, the bishop's seat. It's like, what is this? The choir, now they did have a organ there. They did have, which was not traditional, but they had one. And the priest there, his wife, she was the main one that they followed her. She set the tone, I should say. So, and then all around are all these icons and all these, what is this? And it's Greek. So the young lady that he met, her name was, it was Irene and Vasily. Vasily was her fiance. And Vasily was going to go to Boston to the seminary. So there's a chanter's box over here, there's the choir over here, you know, and of course the whole altar, and I'm sitting there, and this is unlike anything I've ever been in. This is like, it's like totally fascinating. And so I see this, what I thought was like a cloud, and I'm sitting there saying to myself, this is a cloud. Is it a glory cloud? Is it like the cloud that the Egyptians, the Israelites followed when they were being chased by Egypt? Like, what is this? Which I know now was the smoke of the incense. Didn't know what that was. And I noticed it was a smell. Like, it smells good in here, you know? What is that? So everything is foreign. It's like I stepped into a whole nother country. It's like I stepped back years. And the funny thing about that whole thing, which made me like, okay, yeah, I'm here. Wasn't that, to be honest, it wasn't that. That was kind of like, okay, I've seen it before, never experienced it. This was the kicker. This is our first day there. Irene had notified the priest and others that she had 2 friends that were coming. She didn't say what we were, how we looked, nothing. Just, I got 2 friends coming. Okay, fine. So here we are, 2 African Americans sitting in the middle of all Greek church. Nobody looks like us. And we're like, we didn't care. It felt a little off, but really not because look, if we're in the church, then that shouldn't even matter. So they had a guest speaker that day. Okay, cool. We come into the middle of a guest speaker. So this guest speaker comes up, and he was, I don't know exactly what he was, but he was some type of missionary or something. So he talks about how he was in New York and that he encountered a weird group of people. And they were spewing out untruths, things that weren't factually, historically, religiously, or whatever correct. Which we come to find out that they were called the Black Israelites, which I knew about very, very well. I had actually kind of dabbled in that a little bit when I was younger. So he goes on to say, so there were, this is his words now. So there's two things that were wrong with this group. First of all, he says, their doctrine was all wrong. Secondly, they were black guys. And the church was like, because they saw us, you know, of course we're not even catechumens at this point. We're just visitors. And they're like, oh no, he said that. The priest, you can see him in the distance. He's sitting right there at the entrance coming out. And you can see him kind of turn red. And the Irene, who had invited us, she's like this because she's sitting a few rows up, and she looks back like that, and to see if, you know, how we're responding to it. And people are just like, oh my God. So he's going on and on and on, whatever. I personally wasn't offended. People say things, people don't know what they'll be saying. It's whatever. At the end of the service, they all come up to us. I'm so sorry. I had no idea he was going to say that. We had no idea. It's okay. It's okay. That right there showed me more of what this church was versus any of the icons. Not that they were irrelevant. They were very relevant. It's just that sign of them coming, I'm so sorry. Because they could have just been like, oh, well, whatever. You know. It's a Greek church. You don't like it? Find somewhere else to go. But they didn't do that. The priests, the chancellors, I mean, everybody from the highest to the lowest, whatever, was like, and then there was this little old lady. I haven't seen her, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of getting tripped. I haven't seen her since I left. And she was, what's Yaya?
Yaya.
Oh, that woman. If there was anything that helped convert me, she was a big piece. She would come to us every Sunday we went, and she would hug us as if we were her own. Oh, that woman, she was so nice. She was so nice. And she'd come. She was maybe about this tall, about that tall, arms about that long, all white hair, and she had to have been immigrant from Greece. There was no way, because she was just too, culturally she was too strong. She wasn't born here in the States and kind of, no, she had to be born over in Greece. She'd come over, her arms like this, and she wouldn't say anything, but just her motions, give her a hug, kiss you on the oh man. So it was her and there was a few other ladies. They were very, very, very sweet ladies. Father George Lyakopoulos was probably one of the most humble priests I've ever, aside from Father Dimitri, that I've ever met. He was very soft-spoken. He wasn't easily rattled. People could be in the back of the church just while he's talking, and he would not flinch. He would just kind of look over there and keep talking. Would not skip it. He would not miss a beat, and they'd be quiet. He would come around and he would talk. You know, at the coffee hour, and they had a huge. Cause I mean, it was a big church, and they had a lot of following. So you know, they were able to have a bigger facility, and he would come around to every single table, and there'd probably be, I don't know, 15 tables where people were all sitting at, and he would come to every one and sit and talk. And he always told me and my friend Marlon, he said, one day we're gonna go to a park and sit down in a tree and we're gonna discuss theology. We have yet to do it, but he said we're gonna do it. Okay, so moving on. We continue to go. Week after week after week after week, and finally he said, "You're going to become catechumens." Yes, we did. So we become catechumens. So we're like, this is exciting. So now we just dive. I mean, it's a pool that's 35 feet deep, and we just learned to swim yesterday. We jumped dead in there. We didn't care. We're learning about St. Maximus and Seraphim and Ignatius. And I mean, we went from the patristics all the way up. And we got pretty haughty. We got pretty prideful because now we know something that our contemporaries who go to other Protestant churches, we know something y'all don't know. Well, let me say it this way. I did. Let me not speak for him because that's not fair. So I got a little haughty. He wasn't as. He was more or less doing the reading, then he would give it to me, and then I would go on and on and on. So we get chrismated. I bring my certificate of baptism from my church, and he said, okay, we chrismate you, and then we'll tonsure your hair, and so on and so forth. So my sponsor or godfather, Tom, Papadimitrios, very, very, very scholar. Hellenistic studies, goes over the Greek. I mean, very calm-mannered voice. Him and his wife, very good people. My mom came because she wanted to know. She goes, well, I'm gonna come support you. I want to know what this is. She had no idea, so she came. And she was like, well. Now, what's funny is my mom was like, well, that's not of the Lord. That's not of the Lord, you know, anybody else, you know. But with me, she was like, well, and my aunt too. Well, as long as you believe in Jesus Christ and you know, his death, burial, and resurrection, then I'm fine. I have an aunt that's Jehovah's Witness, and they don't, which is her sister, and you know how they believe, and so it's my mom doesn't feel the same that way. But for me, her only son, she's like, I'll support you. So she comes with me. And she said, that was nice. So she supported it. She didn't say, oh, I don't know about this, or what's that, or what are you guys doing? I don't know about. She was cool. Well, from that point on, one vital story. So we're in Orthodoxy now for probably about a good between being introduced, catechumen, chrismated, taking our first communion. So within a year. My friend Marlon, so he takes the name Maximus Confessor. We were only in it, reading, studying within maybe a month, and he says, you know, you gotta take different names. I'm like, what do you mean? So he explains. I'm like, oh. So I was in between Ignatius of Antioch, Saint Seraphim of Saraf, and Athanasius the Great. And I was reading this story by Seraphim, and it pertained to the Mother of God, and I was like, I don't know about that. It seemed far-fetched. Because my Protestantism is still in there. It's still there. I'm, 30-something years being a Baptist. It's like, okay. So, I said, I don't know if I want to take Seraphim. I like Ignatius. That was like, man, this guy is serious. Then I read St. Athanasius. Closed the book. I said, what? So Athanasius comes to London with me, Athanasius Against the World. And I was already a debater. I always wanted to be like, nope, you're wrong, and let me tell you why. So I ran with that. Okay, so my friend Marlon, now Maximus, has this dream. And it's a bridge. And I go over it, and then I'm maybe a day or two ahead of him. And he's crossing over it, and he said it was rickety. Moved a lot, a little bit shaky, and the crocs. He said it was these crocodiles. They kept trying to get him. And he was trying to go over the bridge like this, and it's kind of like the old rope bridges in a jungle. And these crocodiles kept coming up to get him, he said. And he said that he finally crossed it, and he called it to me, and he said, hey man, did you go over that bridge? And I said, yeah. He said, "What'd you think?" He said, "It was a little rickety, but it was okay." And I was like, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, man." So we interpret that to be we're crossing over into what we now know is the one true holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. And in doing so, I went over it with ease, like, no problem, come on. But he went over it with trepidation because the Crocs were trying to get him. And it's like, yo, man, what? Something you want to tell me? Like, I took it more like, yeah, because I had been disgusted with what I saw over here. I shouldn't use the word disgusted, but I was not pleased with what I saw over here, and I was just like, I need something else. This is not going to work. And there it was. So to say that it's been a smooth plane ride the whole time would be a lie. It's been full of ups and downs. We were at the Greek church for about 2 years, and then we got tired of the travel because it was almost an hour away. Then we found one that was closer. We found a church that was closer. It was a Russian church in the town, like right next door, which is like 20 minutes away. We went there. It was a little different. We liked it, but because it was closer. But Paris wasn't as big. People were nice, but not as nice as the Holy Trinity. And I don't want to say we weren't. It was. I think it was needed for our growth because it was a different approach. And we were under, at that point, Father Nikolai Mandu. Father Nikolai was very, very, very smart. And he was pro-Orthodox to the T. I'm talking about crossing T's and dotting I's, canons, the O's. I mean, he would do every single service. He would say every single prayer. He would not skip anything in the book. He would not do any of that. He was staunch, cold, hard, Orthodox. And he ran it like, almost like we were in the Marines. But he was a good priest. I learned a lot from him. And there I met Deacon Jonathan, which he passed on back in 2021. I miss him. He was a good deacon, and I met a lot of other good people there. And eventually, that church closed down because Father Nikolai could no longer physically. He was playing with his son. He got kicked in the back of his head accidentally. He broke his neck. He served still in the altar with a halo on. He served up until he could, and he served up until the church got to a point where it could not financially support itself, and it shut down. So we were kind of, where do we go now? Well, there was another church over in Vineland, St. Anthony's, which is the next town over, which is 25 minutes away. So that's where we went from 2014 until COVID. When COVID hit, St. Anthony's has a lot of elderly members, Matter of fact, 80% of its members are elderly. I would say 60s and up. Very few young people there. Then that church, and I met a lot of Father Socrates, who was a priest, and he ended up leaving to go do missionary work as an Orthodox priest in Africa. This was a very kind-hearted, sincere priest. He didn't bother with excuses. I remember one day I came to him and I said, "Hey, Father, I'm sorry I was late, man. I woke up, I was tired, I worked long last night, da-da-da-da-da-da." His facial expression did not change. Just stayed looking at you the same way. And as he's giving you the deal, he says, "Tell it to Christ." What? and told you to move on. I'm not the one you need to be apologizing to. Tell it to Christ. Get on out of here. Okay. Father Socrates was very hard with people maintain, especially, this is his words, not mine. If this airs, he would be hard on his fellow countrymen, the Greeks, to say, you have it, and you don't care, and you're giving it away to someone else. Not that it was a bad thing, but he was just saying, like, you should take care of this more. You know, cradle Orthodox, you should be taking care of it. Anyway, that was his words, not mine. So he left, and then we got Father Paul, and then that's the first time I actually went and I served as I'm a grown man serving as an altar boy. And I went in there with him. Father Paul was very good, but he became sick. He had a bad heart. He passed away. Then came another Father Dean. Father Dean was another. He was. All these priests were sincere. They were very compassionate. I mean, I've been blessed. I've had yet to have a priest that was not up to par. And so then Father Dean left, and then there was another priest that came, and then during that time it was kind of like a fill-in. He was actually Ukrainian, but he was serving in the Greek Archdiocese. Very tall. He's about 6'6", 6'7". He was tall. Yeah. So anyway, COVID hit, church shut down. My friend Marlon Maximus, who works in the hospital, he went there, and they were like, you know, don't come up here to the Tanner's box. No, because he worked in the hospital, and they were scared, like, you may have it, you could be asymptomatic, and you give it to us, and we're all old. So that's how that went. So we didn't have church for, see, that was March. I remember the week before it shut down, I went in there and everybody's got these masks on. People are looking around, people are scared, people don't even want to kiss the icons, they don't want to light candles. It was just like, what is wrong with y'all? Like, what's going on? Anyway, it shut down, they shut us down. And when they finally opened up, they were only open on Saturdays. There was no priest on Sundays. They could get no priest. So I'm like, man, I can't go on Saturday. That's almost 60% of my income through the week. So I was in no church for the majority of 2021. Shut down in March of 20. There was no church up until, so I didn't receive Eucharist. I didn't go to church just about the entire year of 2020, going around into 2021. 2021, no, that's incorrect. No, I'm right. So 2021, I go back down to Holy Trinity. I'm like, I can't, a whole year without, no, can't do this no more. I felt convicted in my heart. I had to go. So I go there, and the church had been moved out of the nave, the main sanctuary, of course, and had went into the gymnasium. That was weird. So we're getting, I can't even remember if did he serve us I think well, I know he used the chalice, and I know he used the spoon. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember. I don't recall. I think he was. I don't think they used a separate spoon for everybody with that. I don't think. They may have. I said, man, this is not church. It just felt like, oh my goodness. And then you had to sign up because they could only fit so many. So if you didn't sign, like a week ahead, sign up and say, hey, I'm coming, and they reach, maximum seating, then you couldn't even go in. You had to either wait outside or whatever. I'm like, this is not church. What? Anyway, so I went by myself, and then the next week I went back with me and Max went back, and then about another month later we went again, me, him, and his wife. So then the last time I went was the week before I moved down here. And so I never went back to St. Anthony's after they opened up. I haven't been there now in going on 3 years. And I haven't been in Holy Trinity since since February of 22, which has been a lot more recent. But there's a lot of other stuff in between there. Stories I could tell you about going up to Jackson, where they had the ceremony every August of the faith coming to Russia, or the Myrrh streaming icon I saw in Philly. It's here somewhere. I've seen it somewhere in here. I saw it. It's on the wall. It's got a blue background. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. So the actual one, it streamed. I saw that. I've been to St. Ticon's in Pennsylvania. So Orthodoxy has been it's been seasoning on the food that was bland. It's been a light, a brighter light. It's brought me more understanding. It's brought me definitely closer to the Lord, to my family. It's something where I'll use a movie to explain it. Years ago, there was a movie called The Matrix. And there was a commercial about it. And the guy Morpheus tells Neo, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. And that's Orthodoxy. I can tell you till I'm blue in the face. I can tell you about the saints. I can tell you about, miracles and so on and so forth, and et cetera, et cetera. But until you come and see, it's really hard to describe. It's Orthodoxy, the bride, the church, is a lot like her. She's the bride, a lot like her husband, a lot like Christ. You have to experience them. It's not something you could just put into a bottle or a book and say, here it is. It's not that, because even when you read Orthodoxy, the saints, the fathers, it pops out of the page. You can actually, it's almost like you're reading it, and as you're reading the words in your mind, you can see the actions of everything taking place, and it's just astounding. And whereas at one point I was like, I read something about the Mother of God coming to a saint and telling him this, and I was like, I don't know about that. Now I don't understand how I didn't grasp that at the time, because although it has not happened to me, I understand now after 17 years that I can see it. I haven't seen it, but I can see it. It's been a wonderful journey, and it's gotten me through some tough times in life. Most notably, just recently with my stepfather passing. It gives you more compassion on your fellow man, woman. So when you do, I'll end it with this. When you do a good work for the Lord, you're not supposed to talk about it. So I'm only going to mention it, not because I want any kind of praise, but because this is an example. Yesterday, I'm going to a store where one of the members here happens to work at to buy some oils that I like, nice fragrance. And it's funny because I was heading up, and I went and got my wife some lunch, and I was coming back, and I was going to go to the next light down and then turn and come around. But as happenstance, I went a different way, and as I turned the corner, there's a lady in a wheelchair, and she's flagging me down. And I'm like, oh man. Now part of me when I said that was like, I don't want to be bothered, and the other part was like, I don't have anything. So I got food here, but I bought that for my wife for lunch, and then I got mine. She's gonna go to lunch in 30 minutes. So I said, man. So she's got an amputated leg. She's in a wheelchair. It's raining. She has a tank top on, and she's kind of exposed up top. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I go in and I purchase what I went to get. But it's in my mind, it's in my heart that this woman is out there. So I leave out and I said, oh, wait a minute. And I go back and I said, do you have a bigger bag? I said, yeah. So in the car I had some food and I just loaded all I can in there. I don't know where she can go eat it at or whatever. I just gave it to her. Put it in the bag and I pulled it. And she says, she's flagging me down and I stop and pull over. She said, do you have any spare change? I'm like, oh man. Now, I'm kind of tapped for cash. I don't have any money, and the little bit of money I do have, I need it. But I'm like, you know what? I had $6. I had 20, but I owed somebody 20. I needed to pay them back, so I gave her the 6, and then I gave her the can of the bag of food. So she's like, thank you. She goes, do you have an umbrella? It's raining. Do you have a shirt? I'm like, oh, man. I don't have anything other than what I was wearing. I don't. I said, you know what? Stay right here. Don't go nowhere. I'll be right back. So I went right back to the store where I was at. And I said, do you guys sell, shirts? So if you do, there's some over there. Do you have umbrellas? Yeah, over there. So I get her a shirt, which ended up being too small for her, and an umbrella. And I said, here, just put it over your head and over your shoulders. Keep it, somewhat dry, and then give her the umbrella. Because, and then she said to me, do you smoke? I'm like, no, ma'am, I don't. So, years past, that would have been like, man, I did all that, and then you asked, for a smoke. And I would condemn her for that. Like, that's why you're in the position you are now. But no, that's not what it is. Because Christ said, when I was hungry, when I was sick, when I was in jail, you fed me, you clothed me, you visited me. When did you do that to us, Lord? So when you do it to the least of these, you do it unto me. Because in Orthodoxy, we understand that it is an ontological change that we have, not just a moral change, and that Christ took flesh from his mother, the Theotokos. The Theotokos, not the Christotokos. Theotokos, the God-bearer. He took flesh from her, because all humanity is one living organism of flesh. So now, that very flesh that she had, that I have, that anybody else had, it belongs to Christ because he took it and presented it before the Father, justified, glorified. So that flesh, she's going to pass away at some point. Maybe she won't. Maybe the Lord comes back before then. But either way, she'll be resurrected. And resurrected to what? To glory or to what? So hopefully, what I did through Christ, by Christ, through the energies of God, the Holy Spirit, would shine some light on it, give her some light. And then maybe someone else will come along and help her as well. So I mentioned her to one of the members here. So did you see the lady? No. Try to put that in, and maybe she'll go see about her. She'll see her, and maybe she can. But there's a lot of sickness in the world. And I know Baptists and Presbyterians and Anglicans and everybody, that professes God and Christ to some degree, does their best to help people who are in need, orphans and widows, and, people who are. But as an Orthodox Christian, to me, it's different. Because we understand the humanity, the incarnation. I'll just say it that way. We understand the incarnation better than anyone, and understanding that that woman is Christ in some regard, as is everyone. So, like the scripture says, when you do it to the least of these, you do it unto me. And that is what Saint Sarah from the Sarov talks about by obtaining the grace of the Holy Spirit. Because when the market is closed, which is our life, we can no longer do things that give us the grace, which is the oil, to burn in our lampstand, that when we go, when the time comes, we have all our oil. If we wait until the door is closed, which is the ending of our life, we can no longer accrue any grace upon us. And what do? So we can't be like the foolish virgins. So every time you have a chance to do something in the name of Jesus Christ, through the Holy Spirit, for someone, do it. And it's only through Orthodoxy, I believe, that the grace of God works in such a way that it will illumine us and change us and deify us. So my journey has been, and I could go on and on and on about different stories. I could tell you, oh my goodness, it's amazing. But I'm so happy I found Orthodoxy. And I just pray the Lord continues to increase my faith, increase my prayer, increase my growth, and it's been an incredible journey. And I would never go back and change anything, because it's been too good to me. So I told you it was long, but
that's beautiful.